Hello everybody, welcome to Live Interactive English. I am Shane.
And I'm Karen. Today we are looking at this dialogue called What's in Your Emergency Kit?
Speaking of which, do you know where I can buy a whistle?
Why would you need a whistle? Are you like a PE teacher?
No, I'm not a PE teacher. We're talking about emergency kits. And I've been putting together my emergency kit lately. And I need a whistle.
I never see the point of preparing an emergency kit. I mean, seriously? We're in Taiwan and we have 7-Elevens everywhere. So you can basically get whatever you need from 7-Elevens or any convenience stores.
The point is, if there's a major disaster, like a big earthquake, the stores aren't open, there's no access to the store, maybe you're even trapped in your home and you can't even get out of your home. You might need a whistle so people can hear you if someone's trying to rescue you. Some water, maybe a dust mask.
Okay, well, I guess that does sound pretty serious. So if something like that happens, then I do need an emergency kit.
Exactly, and there are lots of earthquakes in Taiwan too, so don't just depend on 7-Eleven for everything.
So what should I put in my emergency kit? Maybe some snack? Some cookies?
No, you can't just we need more essential things than that. If you want a big enough one, you can maybe put a snack in there or something. But when you think about water, things to survive. Okay?
Like makeup and hairbrush and
maybe you'll get some inspiration in today's lesson.
new shirts.
Why don't we go into the lesson?
Okay, let's go.
Lucas has a number of objects laid out in front of him. Jill enters.
What's all this?
I'm going through our emergency kit. It's been a year since I last checked it, so I'm seeing what needs to be replaced and what else could be added.
How exciting.
Hey, you'll be thanking me when society collapses and it's every man for himself. Let's see. The canned food won't expire for another 2 years, so that can stay.
This headache medicine is expired.
I'll pick some up at the store later. I just noticed our kit doesn't include a multi-tool. I'm going to go get one. Can you test that flashlight to see if it still works?
So we have this dialogue today called What's in Your Emergency Kit? So to start everyone off, what is an emergency kit?
Well, we have two words, emergency and kit.
That's right.
So an emergency means like something happens, like a disaster or something that needs to be dealt with right away.
That's right.
I think in this type of situation, something bad has happened, like an earthquake, some type of a disaster. And you
Or maybe typhoon.
Yeah, and you need to be prepared with a kit. So what is a kit?
Like a set of tools or supplies that you're using for a particular reason. So for example, sometimes you might get hurt, that you might use your first aid kit. So inside your first aid kit, you have a lot of supplies, you have a lot of things that you can use to maybe treat a wound. Or maybe
cover it.
Like Band-Aid, or maybe you have gauze, you have different type of medication to treat your wound, right?
Right. Okay. So we are going to be talking about checking an emergency kit.
So checking to see if you have everything that you need?
Right.
Maybe. So Lucas has a number of objects laid out in front of him. Jill enters. So this is a dialogue between Jill and
Lucas.
That's right.
All right, so we have object, this vocabulary word.
That's right. Object is a noun. Object basically just means some things or items that you can see or touch. Anything can be an object. A chair is an object. A
you
table.
Are an object.
I'm not an object. I'm a person. I'm a woman.
Okay.
Excuse me. So for example, I took out several objects from my bag because it was too heavy. So I had to take out some items, some of the things that were in my bag because I thought it was too heavy, right?
Yes. All right, so you object to being an object.
That's right.
Right? So this could also be a verb pronounced a different way with the same spelling, to object.
Exactly.
So she objected that she's an object.
That's right. That means I do not agree with that.
Okay, I'm Lucas, you're Jill. Jill?
All right. So Jill starts off by saying, what's all this? So Jill is probably looking at the bag or looking at the items that he laid out on the table. It's like, what's all this?
I'm going through our emergency kit. It's been a year since I last checked it, so I'm seeing what needs to be replaced and what else could be added.
So this kind of emergency kit is something that you should check on a regular basis, right?
Some things like medicine, it expires.
Oh, you're right.
Right?
You're
So
right.
you need to replace it to make sure that it's still effective.
You're right. And maybe some of the things you have already used, and then you have to maybe buy a new one and put it inside,
If
right?
you have a flashlight, maybe the batteries in there are going to need to be changed, right? If you're in an emergency and you get out your flashlight, but the batteries are dead, the flashlight's useless.
Exactly. So some things might need to be replaced. What does that mean?
Right. So that's a verb, and to replace something means to put something in place of another thing. So maybe get a new one because the old one doesn't work anymore, right?
Exactly.
So for example, you could say, it's time to replace our fridge. It's over 20 years old.
So that means you have to buy a new fridge and then put it in the same place and get rid of your old one.
Precisely.
Exactly. Okay, so Jill says, how exciting. Okay, so she sees this as an exciting thing to do.
I think she's being sarcastic. Like,
oh, really?
wow,
So,
how
okay,
exciting.
so then I would have to say it in a different way. How exciting.
How exciting.
That's right. So a lot of times, different phrases that you use, it depends on the tone you use. It sends out a different message.
Here, if you don't mean what you're saying, you mean the opposite, we call that sarcasm.
Exactly.
So it sounds like she's being sarcastic. So he says, hey, you'll be thanking me when society collapses and it's every man for himself. So if society collapses, that just means that society's not functioning anymore.
Exactly.
And every man for himself, it's kind of like everyone's fighting each other and whoever's the strongest will survive. Continuing, let's see. The canned food won't expire for another 2 years, so that can stay.
And I think that's why a lot of people put canned food in their emergency kit. It's because they can last for a very, very long time, right?
Years and years and years, right?
Exactly. So if you need some food, I think that's a very, very important thing to have. So society is our next vocabulary word, and that is a noun. Basically, it's like people who share the common laws or tradition or customs, or sometimes maybe the similar language as well, and then in an organized community. So for example, every member of society has a right to express their opinion, right? And that is very true because everyone deserves that right to speak up.
Yes. Okay, continuing.
And Jill says, this headache medicine is expired. Okay, so it's important to check, like you mentioned before, that medicine, sometimes they have the expiry date. So once that it's expired, it's not good to take it.
Yeah, so it's just not good anymore, or it's lost its efficacy. It's not going to be effective anymore. If you were to take this medicine, it's probably going to do nothing.
Exactly.
Or could even harm you. Okay? So Lucas says, I'll pick some up at the store later. I just noticed our kit doesn't include a multi-tool. I'm going to go get one. Can you test that flashlight to see if it still works?
What's a multi-tool though?
So a multi-tool is basically, like it says, multi means many, right?
Yes.
So it's a tool or something that has many tools on it.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
Like a Swiss Army knife?
Kind of like one of the Swiss Army knife. That is considered a multi-tool.
So it has like maybe a pair of scissors or maybe like also a knife.
Oftentimes they fold out,
Yes.
right? And you can use it for different purposes.
Okay, so multi-tool, got
It's very
it.
useful in an emergency situation.
Of course. And then he wanted Jill to check if the flashlight still works, right?
Those batteries, got to check those batteries.
Exactly. Okay, how about let's take a short break and we'll be back for more.
Okay.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。这一次的绘画是关于 emergency kit， 就是紧急避难包。第一段对话一开始呢 ，Lucas 前面摆了许多的东西，他正在仔细的检查紧急避难包。那从上次检查到现在已经有1年了，所以他就要看看有没有什么要换啊，有没有要增加什么。Jill 听了之后说。 真有趣。他应该是用嘲讽的那种语气，因为 Lucas 接着说：“嘿，当社会崩溃，每个人都只顾自己的时候，你会感激我的。”所以那时候 Shane 老师有用到 sarcasm 这个字 ，sarcasm，sarcasm 表示讽刺、挖苦或嘲笑。那么 sarcastic 则是拼作 sarcastic。sarcastic 可以形容是冷嘲热讽的或是挖苦的。好，再看到课文单字 object， 它是名词，表示物体或是东西。这个字也可以当动词，念作 object， 它表示反对或不赞成。再来 replace 这个动词，它有替换、取代的意思。那么 society 则是表达社会。好，接着 Lucas 和 Jill 在检查罐头食物啊，检查药品，结果发现，头痛要过期了。Lucas 等一下要去店里买一些，那他还要顺便买一把叫多功能工具 multi-tool， 就是多功能用具。好，那我们补充一下文中用到 expire 这个字，它表示期限是到期、期满的。那么 Karen 老师则用到 expiry date， 它是指有效期限、到期日。这个 expiry 是拼作 expiry， 它就相当于 expiration， 用来表达到期、期满或是结束。那么药品过期就会失去效力嘛？这时候 Shane 老师用到 efficacy 这个字 ，efficacy 这个名词它具有功效、效力的意思。那这边一个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，这边我们来整理片语动词 pick up 的不同用法。pick up 有很多意思，那我们以下介绍几个常见用法。第一种呢，你可以用来表达拿起、捡起来，像 pick up your dirty socks and put them in the laundry basket， 就是说把你的脏袜子捡起来放到洗衣篮里面。那第二种用法呢，可以表达接送、领取，像是接送某人啊，领取某物。例如 Ethan picked up his daughter from school。Ethan 从学校接他女儿离开。那么第三个，我们可以表达购买某物，像是 I'm going to pick up some meat for dinner tonight。我要去买一些今天晚餐要用到的肉。那第四个呢，可以表达学会或是了解，就常常用来指可能是非刻意，不是经过正统学习的方式，然后是慢慢从环境中啊、机会当中去学会的。举例来说 ，She picked up a few Japanese phrases on her trip to Tokyo。她去东京旅行期间有学会一些日文用语。好，那我们继续回到课文中。
While hiking, Lucas injures his knee.
Does it hurt?
Yes, it hurts. Do you have a Band-Aid?
That scrape looks too big for a Band-Aid.
Okay. Do you have anything to stop the bleeding?
Let me check my bag. You're in luck. I have some gauze. And here is some medical tape.
Thanks. Do you have any antiseptic spray? This is breath spray.
Whoops. Sorry. Here.
You're a lifesaver. Thanks.
Welcome back, everyone.
Okay.
So we still have another dialogue between Jill and Lucas, right?
Right, and this one is giving first aid.
Ah.
Right, so when we're talking about first aid, it's basically the first aid that you give to somebody. You're aiding them or you're helping them when somebody gets injured. So maybe
That's right.
before they can go to a hospital, it might not need to go to a hospital, but in case they did, you're first there to treat things, to clean them so that something doesn't get any worse.
Exactly.
Right?
So while hiking, Lucas injures his knee. So you mentioned the word injure, right? So injure basically just means hurt, right?
get hurt,
He hurt his knee. Okay, so Jill starts the dialogue by saying, does it hurt? Oh, she's being very considerate. If you see someone getting hurt, of course you want to make sure that they are okay. Then you would ask, does it hurt or are you okay?
Yes, it hurts. Do you have a Band-Aid?
Ah, a Band-Aid is something that we usually use when you have broken skin, right? Because you don't want bacteria to go inside your body or else you will get an infection. Right?
You need to cover it up, right? And Band-Aid actually is a brand name.
That's right.
This happens very often where a brand is so popular that it becomes the name of just that thing, because really this is an adhesive bandage.
That's right.
But because the brand Band-Aid was so popular, we call these things Band-Aids at least in North American English.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
And Jill says, that scrape looks too big for a Band-Aid. Yeah, when the cut or the broken skin is too big, sometimes the Band-Aid is quite small.
Yeah,
it doesn't cover that large area, right? You might need something a little bit bigger.
So Lucas says, okay, do you have anything to stop the bleeding? So to stop the bleeding, so bleed is a verb, to bleed. And to bleed simply means to lose blood. So for example, if you cut your finger, you will say, my finger is bleeding, but it doesn't hurt.
Oh, but usually if you're bleeding, usually it would hurt, right?
Typically it does, but actually I get cut quite often, and my wife will be like, why are you bleeding? I was like, am I?
Ah, so sometimes you can't even feel it.
Yeah, if you're a man.
Really? Okay, and then Jill says, let me check my bag. You're in luck. I have some gauze. Okay, so what is gauze?
So gauze is basically kind of a bandage, but it's kind of, air can get through it.
Yes.
Because it is important for a cut or some kind of scrape to be able to breathe, right?
Exactly, but you need to cover it so you don't get bacteria inside though. And here's some medical tape. So usually this is what you would do if you have broken skin. You would put some gauze and also medical tape to make sure that it's in place.
Right. So Lucas says, thanks. Do you have any antiseptic spray? So then Jill hands Lucas a spray bottle.
That's right, but antiseptic spray basically is a kind of spray that would kill the bacteria, right?
Right, or any kind of germs or whatever.
Exactly. So if you have broken skin, you have to be very careful. You don't want the bacteria to go inside because you would have an infection. Then you would probably have to go to the hospital. Okay, so Jill hands him the bottle.
Lucas says, this is breath spray. Right? To have fresh breath. Maybe the bottles look similar, right?
Exactly. And Jill says, whoops, sorry, here.
All right, so she gives him the right thing, the antiseptic spray. And Lucas says, you're a lifesaver. Thanks.
When someone saves your life, then that person is a lifesaver, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't, a lot of times it's not necessarily that your life is saved, but when somebody gives you something that you need and you really feel like, I need that thing, and they give it to you, you say, oh,
Thank you so much.
You're a lifesaver. It's
like
just
you helped me a lot.
so dramatic.
Exactly. Okay, well, we learned quite a lot about that, and we know the importance of preparing an emergency kit.
I hope that now you know the importance of preparing an emergency kit, right?
That's right.
Yeah, don't laugh, because I know that you are going to go home and you're probably going to fill this emergency kit with snacks. We need the essentials, okay?
Okay, I think my emergency kit will be very, very big.
Okay, that's fine. So start with the essentials.
Okay, I will. I hope you enjoyed the lesson today, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
第二段对话是关于 giving first aid 给予急救。那么 Lucas 在徒步旅行的时候膝盖受伤了，那他的膝盖擦伤呢看起来太大，要止血是不适合用 OK 泵的。幸好 Jill 的包包里面有纱布、有医疗用胶带，还有这个消毒喷雾剂。只是 Jill 他一开始就拿错了喷雾剂，他拿成口腔的清新喷雾，还蛮搞笑的。那么 breath spray 就是指口腔清新喷雾，而课文单字 bleed 它表示流血，它的三态是 bleed, bled, bled。而文中有出现一些急救用品，我们可以学起来，像 Band-Aid 是 OK 泵，它其实是商标名称。我们其实也可以用这个 adhesive bandage 来指 OK 泵，其中这个 adhesive 是拼作 adhesive， 它是形容粘着的、有粘性的。那么 gauze 是指纱布 ，medical tape 是医用胶带，还有 antiseptic spray 表示消毒喷雾剂。好，那以上是这个讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Lucas has a number of objects laid out in front of him. Jill enters.
What's all this?
I'm going through our emergency kit. It's been a year since I last checked it, so I'm seeing what needs to be replaced and what else could be added.
How exciting.
Hey, you'll be thanking me when society collapses and it's every man for himself. Let's see. The canned food won't expire for another 2 years, so that can stay.
This headache medicine is expired.
I'll pick some up at the store later. I just noticed our kit doesn't include a multi-tool. I'm going to go get one. Can you test that flashlight to see if it still works?
While hiking, Lucas injures his knee.
Does it hurt?
Yes, it hurts. Do you have a Band-Aid?
That scrape looks too big for a Band-Aid.
Okay. Do you have anything to stop the bleeding?
Let me check my bag. You're in luck. I have some gauze. And here is some medical tape.
Thanks. Do you have any antiseptic spray? This is breath spray.
Whoops. Sorry. Here.
You're a lifesaver. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Steven, and I'm visiting the Hsinchu Zoo today. It was opened in 1936. Many local people have precious memories here. After a 2-year renovation, the Hsinchu Zoo was reopened at the end of 2019. I can't wait to see the animals. Let's go! There are many animals at the Hsinchu Zoo. Every kind of animal has its own home. The hippo likes to stay in the pond and eats grass with her big mouth. The tigers have orange and black fur and sleep a lot during the day. The monkeys love to play around and scratch one another's back. The flamingos have long legs and beautiful white and pink wings. Come to Hsinchu Zoo to learn more about all the different animals.
See you next time!